Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Republican Candidate Forum. We will start with an invocation by Steve Goldberg. Would you please come to the microphone, Steve?
Thank you, Suzanne. Anyone that thinks that politics and religion should not be mixed understands neither politics nor the scriptures. Even George Soros understands that. 3 verses and then we'll pray. Out of Romans chapter 13, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. It is an important evening, and for that matter, across this country as we approach election time. Lord, I pray for 2 groups tonight. First, I pray for the candidates that are about to share with us, and I pray, Lord, that you give them the wisdom to perform at their best, and I also pray that you give them the courage to present to us who they really are and what they stand for. And the second group is that group of patriots that made the time to be here this evening. I pray you give them the discernment to judge what is being said by each individual, because this is an important election, perhaps the most important election in the history of our republic. So for that, Lord, in this tiny group, in this little town or near Corpus Christi, so interpreted, the body of Christ, ironically, I pray for this evening together. And with that, all the patriots said, Amen.
Thank you very much. And now I would like Judge Ina Klein to lead us into our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Before we go to our opening and our forum, I would like to offer you a treat. We have here some local artists that are going to sing in memory of the J6ers that are still, as you know, many of them rotting in jail without ever having been judged. So, Annie and Bob, please.
I was up on January 6th, and what I saw was the most beautiful, the most beautiful experience with people praying, all walks of life, all ages. You can't hear?
We're working on it.
Working on it, okay. Just a sec.
Go ahead, Eddie.
All right, so I was really upset because the experience that I had was beautiful up there, and it was the most patriotic moment. And it was full of people that loved their family, loved their country, loved their God, and loved truth and justice. And when I got home on the news, sorry, we're having echoes. When I got home on the news, all I heard was we were being called domestic terrorists. And there was over 1 million people there, like I say, of all walks of life. And I'm like, that is not. So is domestic terrorists mean the new term word for patriot? people that love their God, love their country, love their family, support truth and justice. So I was so upset, and I just, one night, these words came to me, and I just penned them and wrote them down, and I never have written a song. We're going to get this worked out before I sing, I promise. Well, he's singing. So I penned it down, and I had never written anything before, and I don't even know, I still don't know where these words came from. They just spewed. And so we turned it into this song, and so I hope you like it. We're going to perform it tonight. I just want to introduce, I have the real talent behind the song. I wrote it. He is the talent that's going to sing it because he's got the voice. This is Mickey Bob. Mickey Bob.
Hey, how's everybody doing? You can hear me all right now? How did this go again? Pray for you, love our God. The red, white, and blue, they call us terrorists. Domestic terrorists. Truth and justice, let God be our light. We reject the propaganda on our news at night. Call us terrorists, domestic terrorists. Guns and country, America first. We stand for the flag, free speech, going to church. CRT, have to add to Disney, gender identity, and drag queen. You will not succeed. Calling names is what you do on the left. You've called so many names that no longer have effect. They call us terrorists, domestic terrorists. January 6th, 8 school boards get the jab. Mandates and censorship, gun control, we won't be had. We are patriots, love country and God. We are proud Americans. We're proud Americans. Freedom, family, country, and God. Proud Americans. We're proud Americans. we're taking our country back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annie and Nikki. I think there is no better introduction to the forums we are going to have tonight about our judicial races. This is why justice is so important. If we still had justice in our country, those hundreds of people would not still be in jail without ever having been brought up to a judge. So it's time to change things, and that's why we need good justice, good judges, and a good DA. So we're here tonight to hear from them and remember why those races are so important. So this being said, I have a lot of people I would like to thank tonight. First, the candidates, of course. In our first race, we will have Laura Allison Ramos and Michael Macaulay, who are running for the judge for the 28th Judicial District. Second race, we have 3 candidates. Christy Britt, who is sick tonight and could not be with us, but we will have a video that she sent and a message by MK Walling. Then we have Jimmy Granberry and James Sales. We know your time is valuable, and we truly appreciate you taking your evening to participate to this forum, the only one in the county for this cycle, just in time before election day for voters to make an informed decision. We also want to thank the elected officials who are with us tonight. They know from personal experience how important the contact with the voters is. We have Chairman Todd Hunter, somewhere, don't ask me where. We have Judge Ina Klein and Judge David Klein. And I cannot see everybody in the room, so we may have others. If we have others, please have a show of hands so that I can see you. I guess not. So thank you for being here also. And of course, thank you to all the voters to whom this forum is dedicated. You hold the future in your hands. Your vote in these primaries is most important. First, because each vote holds a tremendous weight in primaries. Often, just a few votes will, and sometimes just one, will make the decision. So this is a very important race. Primaries are the real time for choice. When the time of general election comes in November, as Republicans, we really have only one choice: support the nominee who will, on that first Tuesday of March that is coming very soon, come out of the election cycle. Before we start, I would like to address a question I often get. I'm sure many of you have asked, but not always gotten an answer. Why do you endorse before the candidates forum? The answer is pretty simple, and it is dictated by the election calendar. Filing ends in mid-December. We spend the last 2 weeks of the year, while you're hopefully enjoying festivities and families, researching the 47 candidates that are in contested race just for our county, trying to find their contact information, trying to reach out to them to send them our voter questionnaire, and then we send their questionnaire to our vetting committee. After that, that's when we endorse, and we have only a few weeks left and for those candidates to let know about the endorsement so that there is some benefit to it, and for us to print our voter guide, to distribute them. As many of you know, we are on the island, we have more than 5,000 houses just on the island. We block book every single house. Right now we are in the process of doing 5,000 back in the office. All help, by the way, is welcome every day from 10 to 5. And then we will block walk those 5,000 back, and we then go to Flower Bluff and the rest of the county. So that's why we cannot wait until the forums. We have 4 forums during these pre-primaries. The last one will be on February 22nd, just about when the early voting is starting. So this explains why we cannot wait. The reason we still hold this candidate forum, despite the fact that we have endorsed, is that we have a lot of respect for all the candidates who have decided to throw their hat in the ring. Even if we did not endorse you, we value you. We know how important it is, how much you sacrifice, and we want you to be able to have this platform to reach out directly to the voter. This is the reason that this voter candidate forum is taking place. So, on our endorsement, because I know that's a question that always comes, we vet very carefully our candidates. As those who are here know the candidates, they get a very lengthy and detailed questionnaire that does not just ask them about their job, but tries to understand who they are, what their character is, so that we can make the best decision. We also do individual research on each of them, and then we try to come to the best recommendation we can get from you. We don't try to make the easy choice. We don't try to make the most popular choice. But we have one guideline. We try to find the most conservative candidate that has a path to victory. What I mean by that, we don't only want to win the primaries, we want to win in the general election, where we have a Democratic candidate that we consider really as evil. We consider him to be worse than Mark Gonzalez, that we luckily finally got rid of. So what we want is to make sure that we're not going to have him. Did we make the best choice? We shall see. You will be the judge also tonight. So let's get the show on the road. Our debate moderator will be Ed Humans. Where are you, Ed? Eddie? Eddie? So, anyway, Ed is a 24-year-old Air Force veteran who continues to serve in the Air Force Reserves. He is a very successful serial entrepreneur who lives here on the island full-time. He has served on a number of boards and commissions, such as an ethics commissioner, civil service commissioner, chairman, chamber boards, police foundation boards, and was the president of the Williamson County Republican Leaders and vice chair of the Wilco 100 PAC. He has been a precinct chair twice, and he has served multiple times as delegate to county, senate district, and state convention. Please help me welcome Ed Humans.
Thank you all. All right, let me get discombobulated here. If we can have our first 2 candidates come up to the front and grab a seat. Go ahead. All right. Like we said, each candidate has been provided the rules and has agreed to the terms to participate this evening. Candidates are aware that the location is open to the public and that it may be recorded and should always act in a professional manner. Starting order will be drawn prior to opening statements. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement in the first forum and 3 to 5 minutes in the second forum, which isn't this one. Time cards will be used to identify the 30 seconds, 15 seconds, the end, and then I will, as politely as possible, cut it off. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you. If candidates address another candidate, they can request a 2-minute response one time. Again, the time cards will be used. All questions have already been submitted and closed. I have them, though, we're going to be randomly put into the the jar. I've only read them to make sure grammatical and I can understand what some of this chicken scratch is. And we're gonna pick up the 5 questions. This is a 30-minute segment. And obviously we're gonna start with the judge for the 28th Judicial District. We have 2 candidates, Miss Laura Allison Ramos. And Mr. Michael McCauley. You should be able to, turn that on. All right, the winner has a 3-minute opening statement, so 3 minutes starting now.
Hi, my name is Michael McCauley, and for those of you who do not know me, I am running for the 28th District Court. I hope you'll agree after listening to me tonight that I'm the most qualified and the most experienced candidate running for the 28th District Court. My professional resume is extensive. After graduating from college, I came back to Corpus Christi and started my own business. I was a business owner for 12 years, and then I sold my business and went on to law school. After law school, I came back to Corpus Christi and worked at the district attorney's office where I was a prosecutor. And then after that, I was hired away by a local law firm, the firm I'm with now, and I've been there almost 17 years, handling civil litigation and business law, real estate, transactional matters. So the breadth of my experience is extensive, from everything from a business owner, which I think is critical to be able to be a judge, because you're going to have businesses come in front of you and you need to understand the nuances of their situation. And then I have my prosecutorial experience. Criminal matters are going to come in front of the court, and there's some family law matters that are going to come in front of the court, and then there's a lot of civil matters that come in front of the court. So my experience across the board is extensive. And I believe, I hope you will too, that I have the most experience of any candidate, whether on the Republican side or in the Democrat side. So, and as Susan pointed out earlier, the key thing is we need to elect a candidate in March who can then win in November. That's the goal of Republicans, is we would like to win in November. So for that reason, I think I'm the most qualified and the most experienced, and I'm the most capable candidate who will win in November. I get asked a lot about why I want to be a judge. Well, that's an easy question for me, because I love practicing law. I absolutely love it. I love my time at the district attorney's office. Absolutely love that. And I love law school. And the main thing about that is I love reading and analyzing the law. I love that in law school. And I think that has to do with, because I was an older and more mature student, my contemporaries in law school were right out of college and out having fun. And I was 12 years behind me at a job. And so I had the experience and the maturity needed to really understand the legal issues that we were learning. And I really absorbed them. Is that 2 minutes? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Oh, shoot, I better wrap it up. So, sorry, I'm not wearing my glasses, I'm sorry. And in addition to all of that, in addition to my experience and my conservative values, I am the most conservative candidate in this Republican primary. I love this country, I love God, family. I don't think judges should decide law from the bench, and I think we should support the Constitution and the rule of law. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Ramos, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having me today. I don't know many of you, and I look forward to meeting more of you as the evening progresses. I am a solo practitioner, so I practice in private practice, and I have done so for 12 years. I'm 37 years old. However, I started my career in criminal justice. I graduated from Toloso Midway High School. I went on to Texas A&M Corpus Christi here. I'm an Islander, and I graduated with a criminal justice degree and a focus on the court system. So my love for the court and for the justice system has been lifelong. I also, I'm sorry, my experience is 12 years of criminal law, civil law, family law, and district court experience. I have district court experience in the state as well as in federal district court. I'm on the CJA panel for the Southern District of Texas. I am also on the Nueces County Criminal Justice Panel wheel, and so I handle cases, and I'm in court every day. I also I am in district court, and in the 12 years that I've practiced, I have not had the pleasure of seeing Mr. McCauley in court at all throughout my 12 years of practicing law. And so I am in court, and I am working. Again, and I feel that is one of the that is what makes me the better candidate, is that I'm there and I know what is needed and what makes a fair judge. I also practice in other counties and in other states. I practice administrative law, immigration law, and that takes me to other states. And I know what it takes to be a fair and impartial judge. And I feel that I am the right candidate because I do actually have the court experience and the experience needed to run the 28th District Court. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I can rebuttal that?
Sure, we have a 2-minute rebuttal, starting now.
Okay, so to her comment about she's never seen me in court before, we don't see a lot of attorneys in court. You know, we're going to court, we're doing our thing, and we're leaving. And we're not sitting there all day long. So I absolutely have 30 plus years of experience, my entire adult life, doing everything from a small business owner to district attorney. And in the district attorney's office, the courtroom is your office. And then all the way through to doing civil and transactional law. You know, a civil attorney, a civil defense attorney, or a transactional attorney does a lot of transactional law. And then a litigator does litigation, and I do both. So I have the ability to understand both the transactional side and the litigation side. But so I will say in my entire adult life, which is almost as more than she's been alive, I have all the breadth of experience needed to, on day one, hit the ground running on day one. And I don't need to learn anything about being a judge because I have the experience, the life experience that is needed to be a good judge. And I have the temperament to be a good judge and the understanding. That's the key thing, the understanding of complex cases. Lots of cases are not just simple pleas. They're complex, and you have to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to randomly shuffle the questions. We're going to pull them, and we're going to go as time allows. Again, it's a 2-minute answer, and then potentially a 2-minute rebuttal, and 1 rebuttal each as we go through the questions. All right, first question, of course, is the one with the toughest handwriting. All right, Ms. Ramos, your voting record begins in 2004, and you only voted in 2 primaries, 2016 and 2020, both in a Democrat. Also, Nanette Hassett, current Democrat judge, is your aunt. Having such a strong Democrat history, why run on the Republican primary? You have 2 minutes.
Yes, Judge Hassett is my aunt, and she is a Democrat. My family is comprised of Democrats, Republicans, Muslims, Catholics, lesbians, straights. We are a diverse family, and I'm proud of that. As a judge, we're to be impartial, and that is very important, that we don't treat others with disrespect because they have different views from us, and I think that is the most important thing. Also, we have victims that come forward, and they deserve justice. And that is something that a judge needs to have, needs to be fair and impartial, treat victims right, treat defendants correctly, listen to probation, listen to those that have concerns. And that's my goal as judge, is to listen. And as far as politics, I am new to politics, and I apologize for that. I'm new to this situation of being, thrown into the limelight, and I'm not used to it. So it does, I am young, and it takes something this is something that I need to get used to, and I'm ready for it. As far as my aunt being a Democrat, we don't bring up politics at the family table. It's not something that we discuss. And I feel that I align much more closely with the Republican Party. I'm for God, freedom, and family. I want to be that diverse conservative that young Hispanic females look up to, and I feel that I'm right for that.
Okay. Well, it's easy to do the bullet points about the conservative values, but I have lived the conservative values. Again, not to make light of my opponent's youth and inexperience, but my voting record is actually longer than she's been alive. And I have been consistently voting in the Republican primary. My first vote for president was for President Reagan in 1984. So that's a little while ago. So I didn't want to do math tonight. But Reagan was the impetus for me being a conservative. And I've lived that for the last, 40 years. And so there's no bullet points or talking points that I'm using. This is my life. I've lived this, and I've voted in every single Republican primary for a couple years, 40. So I think my record speaks for itself, and I'm just not using talking points to say I'm a conservative, because I am a conservative. And I think, again, we want conservatives on the bench. Conservative values. We want people who will not legislate from the bench, who will respect the Constitution. The Constitution is the law, and the legislature makes the rules, and judges should not legislate from the bench. We want to respect the rule of law, and we want to honor the family, and honor faith, and honor God. We want to do all these things as conservatives to uphold the conservative values and move those forward. And I thank you all for your support.
All right, this is to both candidates. Do you support Trump? We will go with Mr. McCauley first.
We can't answer.
Agreed?
What the heck, everybody support that?
Is either candidate willing to answer the question?
Can I just answer what? The code of candidates prohibit judicial candidates from.
As long as y'all are in agreement, we'll move on.
We've got some judges who don't agree with me. That's an ethical violation.
All right, folks, we're going to keep going on with the next question. It looks like we have about 15 more minutes of this section. This is to both candidates as well. What significant changes will you bring if elected? Since Mr. Ramos had the first question, we'll let Mr. McCauley to answer this the first time.
Well, significant change, since we're not running against an incumbent, there's really not a whole lot of change, quote, change needed in the court. So what we need to bring is the experience, because the incumbent is obviously the aunt of my opponent, but she's not running for re-election, so it's not like we're running against an incumbent. So I would just say you want to bring the experience and the integrity to the court, and the lifetime of experience. Remember, I ran a business for 12 years. I've been in private practice running a law firm for the last 17 years. That's a lot of experience coming to the bench. Remember, a judge is not only ruling on the law. A judge is a mini office manager. The judge has a budget that's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the judge is the one who is in charge of the courtroom. So you have people you have to manage, and so I think my life experience from that standpoint helps me be able to manage the courtroom, manage a docket, and manage all the things that are necessary. So from a change standpoint, I don't know there's necessarily any change, just progress and bringing things to the future, possibly looking into some more technological issues that will help the court and help our people who come before the court.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos, if you'd like to answer, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. So again, I agree with Mr. McCauley's answer, and having maintaining the integrity and the focus of the 28th is very important and at the forefront of my campaign. My aunt has always been an honest and efficient judge, and right now Nueces County has a backlog of cases that started with COVID. We also have people that are defense attorneys that need to get paid, on time. We have people that are working with probation, defendants that need to become rehabilitated, and there are many aspects and avenues that the court needs to be focused on. And my goal is to continue with that. I am in court. I am in district court. I've handled motions to revoke, and if you look me up on the Nueces County website, you can see I have hundreds of pages of cases that I've handled in district court. I've looked at Mr. McCauley's track record in district court, and he has not handled as many cases as I have. And I'm there, and I know what needs to be done. I know who needs to be listened to, and what I need to do to make the 28th a great court.
Thank you. All right, you have 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
So quick comment about our experience. So I also looked at Ms. Ramos's history. So most of her cases that she's handled in district court have been pleas, criminal pleas. She's a criminal defense attorney. And as we know, in the last 7 years in her last administration, everything pled out. Nobody went to trial, nobody did anything. So everything pled out. So Ms. Ramos may have a few more check marks in the laundry list on the court's website. But those are not cases. I have over 200 active cases right now that I'm working on. Those are active cases. Those are not pleading out. These are civil litigation cases that we're working on. So that takes a lot of time and energy and experience to handle that docket, of my own docket. Whereas Ms. Ramos is handling mostly criminal, all criminal for that matter, in the district court, and those are being pled out, criminal pleas. So I don't think you can really put up her laundry list of cases against mine and compare apples to oranges. I mean, apples to apples. It's apples to oranges.
All right, we're going to draw the next question. This appears to be for both candidates. Ronald Reagan once said, "The founders knew that the courts, like the Constitution itself, must not be liberal or conservative." How will you apply the U.S. and Texas Constitutions to your decisions as district judge? We'll go with Ms. Ramos first. 2 minutes.
So first and foremost, in district court and as well as in federal district court, we have the rule of law, and that is governed by the United States Constitution and the Texas State Constitution. So again, as Mr. McCauley stated, it's not any judge's job to legislate from the bench. It is simply to make rulings based on the laws that are put forward, and that would be my aim is to do that.
So yes, we have to honor the Constitution. So the Constitution of the United States, as well as the Constitution of the state of Texas, as well as the statutes and case law that comes out of Austin and all of the courts around us, that's the law. And so the law is the law. And so it's not up to a judge to make up their own mind as to what the law should say. It's up to the judge to say what the law does say. And that's the whole legislation from the bench when a judge decides they're going to have a predetermined outcome, and they're going to sort of maneuver the case to reach that outcome. And that's the activist judges that we see that as a conservative we don't like, because the Constitution says what it says. It's not a living, breathing document. It's not supposed to change to reflect what somebody thinks it should be today. It is a document that we respect, and we're going to honor both the Texas and the United States Constitution, as well as all the law that comes from that.
All right, this is for both candidates. What are your goals as a district judge? We will go with Mr. McCall first. You have 2 minutes.
Well, my goal is simple. I want to be the best district judge in Nueces County. No offense to our friends out here in the audience. But I want to bring all of my lifetime of experience, which is immense. I mean, I hope you all agree. I mean, I've just touched on my experience, but I want to bring all of that to the bench. And I want to bring that for the citizens of Nueces County. I mean, every one of you all has a potential to showing up in district court. I mean, you may sit here and think, I don't care who the judge is. I don't care. I'm never going to be in district court. Well, God forbid you're a victim. God forbid you're a friend of a victim or a family member victim, or God forbid you get sued. You want the judge to have the lifetime of experience needed to do a good job, to rule on the law. So my goal is simple. It's simple. Be a good judge, be the best judge, and follow the law. And in addition, be respectful, bring integrity, and do all of the things, move the docket. My opponent mentioned COVID, which is still percolating. We've got to move the docket and get things moving and clean up the docket and be efficient. And again, I think my 30 years of business background and legal background brings that experience to the forefront as far as my managerial experiences that I have to be able to manage a large docket in a large courtroom.
And my goal is to know the law and to apply the law and to be impartial and to listen to everyone that is involved in the system and to make it fair for everyone and a pleasant place to work. The 28th District Court, just the same as the 319th or 347th, we deal with people that are there each day. And so I feel that I can relate to those individuals and to be, and I know, how to listen and what is needed to run the court efficiently. I'm a hard worker, and I always have been. I'm an early starter. I'm gonna get there early, and I'm gonna do what I need to do to get things done and to listen and to make it fair for victims, make it fair for defendants, make it fair for everyone involved in the system. And thank you.
All right, we have time for one more question. All right, this is for both candidates. How does your legal experience prepare you for the role of district judge? Ms. Ramos is up.
So I have a lot of experience in different aspects of law. I have handled family law, I've handled civil matters, I have handled criminal matters, I've handled immigration administrative law matters, and I've done it in counties throughout Texas. I did miss one of these forums. I was not present because I was in Killeen, Texas, handling a matter on an eviction for a veteran, and so I handle landlord-tenant issues. I do a lot of immigration administrative work to get people here lawfully, and that is something that I do. I also handle criminal law matters. I'm a trial attorney. I take cases to trial. And I have tried cases in federal court. I have tried cases in JP court, misdemeanor court, and I feel that my trial experience would make me a good judge. And thank you.
Well, I think my legal experience is exactly what you need for a district court judge. I mean, as I've already articulated here tonight, not only my legal experience, but my business background, but my legal experience alone, I have been exposed to a wide range of legal issues, not just criminal, or not just family law, or not just civil. Everything under the sun I've been exposed to. And a district court judge at 9 o'clock in the morning might be dealing with a family law case. At 10:30 they're dealing with a civil case. At 1 o'clock it's a criminal case. Back to family law, back to civil. You got a trial going on. You're bouncing all over the page. on your day-to-day basis. Well, that's kind of what I do right now in my private practice. I'm bouncing all over the place, dealing with various areas of the law, a wide range of areas of the law, not one area, a whole broad breadth of experience. And I have the real world experience to actually be a good judge, which is what we want. And again, I think that legal experience, both being a transactional attorney as well as being a trial attorney, and also my former business experience, is what we need in the courtroom.
All right, thank you. We're going to move into the closing remarks. Ms. Ramos, you're up first for 3 minutes, and remember, if you need a rebuttal, please ask.
Again, thank you for having me here, and I do look forward to meeting and speaking with everyone individually. I do have the experience that's needed to run the 28th District Court. I am in court. I do practice law here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I have my entire career. I have a strong love for the justice system. I started right out of high school, going into the criminal justice realm. And I enjoy it. I love it. It's something that I live every day. And I do enjoy the legal community that we have here in Corpus. I love the defense attorneys that I see every day, the family law attorneys that I deal with, the judges, and the environment that we're in. And I hope to be part of that and to continue that. And again, I thank you all for coming and for being here. And thank you for having me again.
And I would also like to thank y'all for coming. This is amazing. This is a wonderful group. A lot of y'all came over the bridge and had to deal with that traffic, so thank you. Thank you, Suzanne, for hosting this event. This is wonderful. And also thank you for your endorsement and the group's endorsement. I really do appreciate that. That meant a lot to me, because that means that you have faith in my abilities and my experience to be the best judge. So with that, I think everything we've talked about earlier is sort of in a nutshell. We need an experienced judge. We need a judge who's going to be able, on day one, to be able to understand the laws, the cases that come in front of the court, which are a broad breadth of different areas. It's always different. And we need a judge who's going to be respectful of the people who come before the court, honor the Constitution, and be a conservative judge who's going to not legislate from the bench. So I believe that my lifetime of experience, and I am proud of my business experience, and that's why I keep referencing that. Because I'm not just a lawyer, I was a businessman before I became a lawyer. And for any of y'all who've ever started a small business, it's not easy, okay? It's not easy. Nobody gave that to me. I came back from college to Corpus Christi, a city that I love. I came back here on purpose because I love this city. This is my home. And I came back here and started a business, a very successful business, and I sold it after 12 years and went to law school. So I think that right there was a perfect springboard to give me the real life experience, the firsthand knowledge that's needed to then learn all of that, absorb all of that in law school. You know, as I said earlier, I laughed earlier, I said all my contemporaries in law school were still out partying because they just, fresh out of college. Well, I had 12 years under my belt of business experience. So everything we learned in law school, I could relate to. I could really relate to it. And so I think that made me a better lawyer. And I know working in both the transactional side as well as the litigation side, as well as the criminal prosecution side, all of that has made me a good lawyer and will make me an excellent judge. And again, no disrespect to our judges in the room here, but I think I can be one of the best judges in Nueces County. And I appreciate y'all being here tonight. I really do. This means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to Ms. Ramos and to Suzanne and everybody. So appreciate it. Thank you all, and I appreciate your help.
Before we let the candidates go, just a reminder, we encourage you all to stay for the second session. If you don't, make sure you close out your bar tabs, take care of the servers and all. And another round of applause for our candidates tonight. All right, awesome. Just want to open up, and from my understanding, Ms. Britt is not able to make it tonight. She has a short video. I spoke to the two other candidates. For technical purposes and logistics, it's too much to go back and forth and try to pull up the video and all. So we're going to move forward with her video first, and we're going to get ready to play it now.
My name is Christy Britt. I am a candidate for Nueces County District Attorney. I come to you today not just as a Republican candidate seeking your votes and support, but as a devoted conservative deeply committed to the values that have long defined our party. Values of justice, fairness, and a commitment to upholding the rule of law. These values are the foundation of my candidacy. If elected, I will bring these principles to the District Attorney's Office, ensuring that our legal system remains a beacon of integrity and accountability. I am not just a candidate. I am a public servant working tirelessly on your behalf. My vision for our community includes a justice system that is strong on crime, holds criminals accountable, and is a powerful voice for victims. My vision will ensure our streets are safe for our families, our kids, and for businesses to thrive. As a female candidate for this office, I understand the importance of breaking barriers, overcoming challenges, fighting political bullying, and paving a way for future generations. I will leave you with one of my favorite quotes from our 16th President, Abraham Lincoln, and quote, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." Thank you for considering my candidacy. I humbly ask for your votes and support for this important journey.
All right, thank you. If we can welcome up Miss MK, she's going to take advantage of the 5-minute opening for Miss Britt. Just a reminder, if you make comments toward another candidate, she's not here to get her rebuttal, but the other candidates would have their time to rebut when they get to the stage. So if you can come up to the front, I'll hand you the wire.
Got a timer on me? Ready? Good evening to everyone. Unfortunately, Miss Christie has the flu. We've had to cancel several meetings. I'm praying that she gets well quickly because we have a long way to go on this election. My name is MK Walling. I'm Christy Britt's campaign manager. I appreciate you honoring this moment to speak with you. Just a little bit about what Christy wanted and we talked about what we'd like to present today. Christy is the only candidate to never have voted in the Democrat primary, and any statement to the contrary is egregious and a lie. I'm the only candidate, Christy's the only candidate, that is an ethical prosecutor with a multi-level administrative experience managing the district attorney's office, which is, as we know, the largest law firm. This is a direct from Christy. With me as your district attorney, the community will not have to worry about the office recusing itself from criminal cases because of conflicts of having convictions overturned on appeals for questionable behavior by its prosecutors. Christy appreciates everyone that is involved in this election process. And in closing, I want to personally thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak in Christy's place. Christy is truly the only candidate that can win in November in the general election against a career politician and against a criminal defense attorney. Blessings to you all. God bless Texas.
All right, if the candidates like to make their way to the stage.
I don't have a closing statement.
Is either candidate requesting a rebuttal or move into our opening statements? Opening statements. Okay? Mr. Granberry drew number 1 for this, so you have 5 minutes for your opening statements. The microphone's on the table.
Hi, let's get some lipstick on this pig. My name's Jimmy Granberry. Grew up in South Texas. I grew up in a little town called Bankhead after living in Corpus Christi. Dad was a lawyer here. My mother and dad were both from Beeville, Texas. I'm a South Texan by birth. I have been a lawyer since 1987. I started out with a sole practice firm out in in Sinton, Texas, with a gentleman by the name of Jim Whitten. I worked with another lawyer there for about a year, doing criminal defense cases with, Mr. Marshall. And back in those days, you had to take appointments if you did any kind of civil work. So they would do the civil work, and I was the guy who had to do the criminal cases. My first jury trial was an aggravated sexual assault of a child case. I was scared to death, but I had this guy that was 45 years old calling me at 27 Mr. Granberry. And I thought, this isn't right. But I realized that I was the only thing between him and prison. And I believed that he was not guilty. I still believe he was not guilty. We tried that case and he was acquitted. And then I was hooked. I tried to do civil work for about 2 years. I didn't like it. I called my friend Doug Tinker, who I'd worked for one summer, and I said, Douglas, I'd rather drive a long haul truck. And he said, well, I think they're hiring over at the DA's office, Jimmy. And I said, well, hook me up. So he did. He got me home with Grant Jones. They almost didn't hire me because I was taking a $20,000 cut in pay. But they did. And I did that from 1990 to 1994, trying nothing but felonies for the district attorney's office of Nueces County. And it was one of the most satisfying times of my life. We didn't do misdemeanors, we didn't do anything but felonies, and I rung the bell in a lot of ways. I hit 99 after 99 after 99. My favorite number was 99. Now, fast forward. It's present day. I'm the appointed district attorney. I didn't see it coming. I didn't seek it out. I didn't ask for it. I didn't live my life in the hopes that I wouldn't say something that would get me crossways with one group or another. I raised my autistic son. I raised my beautiful daughter, who now has a PhD, and I lived my life. And then I get a call saying, hey, Jimmy, we're not satisfied, and the governor's not satisfied with the choices he has for district attorney in Nueces County. Would you consider taking the job? I said, man, I don't know. I hadn't been, living like that, and I'm not sure I can do it. And they said, well, think about it. And I finally said, well, I'll take a ride up to Austin and see what they say. And I told them the truth. I told them, no, I've been center leaning right for most of my life. I've been what I call the GDI. I didn't live my life that way because that wasn't where my life was. I had children, I had a ranch, I had a life outside of politics, and I never thought I'd ever get into it. And then here I am. I went up to the governors, I went and interviewed, I talked to him, and several times I said, if that's disqualifying, that's fine. I've had a wonderful day. I got to see the Capitol again. It's a magical place. And they'd say, no, sit down. And I'd say, okay. And they'd ask me another question. And I'd say, well, if that's disqualifying, I've had a wonderful day. And they'd say, sit your butt down. And I did. And they came back. And now, for better word, folks, I'm your appointed and confirmed district attorney with the support of the governor.
Mr. Sales, 5 minutes for your opening.
Of the three candidates, Mr. Granberry, myself, and Ms. Britt, only one of them has publicly admitted to voting for Mark Gonzalez, and that was Ms. Britt, who admitted to Pastor Milby that she voted for Mark Gonzalez, the gang member, bike-riding district attorney who for 6 years lived in another county and just blessed criminals for 6 years. And he thought so well of Ms. Britt, he made her a chief in his office. So we don't need any more of that administration in the district attorney's office. I started off in the county attorney's office and doing traffic tickets. I did little JP. So some woman hit some woman with a fish because she was mad at her. Oh my gosh, But it was important to her, so it was important to me. So we tried that sucker. And then you go up, you try DWIs and assault, family violence, and you get to talk to people when you're a misdemeanor attorney. And so you get to know, well, these are just regular folks. Most of these people are just folks that have made mistakes. Maybe I can help them in some way. And so you go forward and you try to get them the help they need so they can go on with their lives. I did that for 2 years, and then I started with the district attorney's office. I've been a prosecutor for 30 years. I've never, once I started the DA's office, I have never done criminal defense. My heart wasn't in it. My heart's always been for the victim. My heart's always been for law enforcement. My heart's always been about getting justice for victims of crime, and that's what I've done. I prosecuted the gangs for 10 years, and I prosecuted my share of sexual assaults. I prosecuted Ras Unida, Texas Syndicate, Mexican Mafia. I had 4 death threats from the Ras Unida. I had glass put in my food at a restaurant by Texas Syndicate. I got attacked in the courtroom by Mexican Mafia. I mean, and I thought that was pretty serious until I got into politics. I mean, this is a lot worse than those guys. Put me back in the gang unit for the love of God. So I did that for a while, and there's some death threats, and so I was made the misdemeanor chief for a while. And while I was a misdemeanor chief, I had this young attorney that step in there named Mike McCauley. And Mike McCauley was in the courtroom, and he was a prosecutor. He was aggressive. He was very good at it. And I was sorry to lose him to the civil, and I'm glad to see he's running for judge, because that's a conservative kind of person we need. Now, in addition to, I acknowledge, and I know Todd when I see it, and I'm sorry to see him go. Now, after the gang prosecution years, rather than defending the people who are smuggling the illegal aliens into our country, instead of trying to find a loophole for how they can come in and escape, I was a border prosecutor for 13 years. I tried smuggling cases. I tried trafficking cases. I tried drug trafficking. I did everything in my power against the cartels to prevent this invasion here. I don't have to be asked, do you support President Trump? I support President Trump. I voted for President Trump. I did my best to prosecute the people that were violating our border and coming into our country illegally. So I've already stood on the front line. When I'm elected district attorney, you don't have to wonder, is James Sales going to prosecute smuggling? Because I've already done it. My sign over there is the only one of the 3 candidates that says Republican in big red letters, because I don't hide what I am. I'm proud of what I am. Because when I put Republican on that sign, that says I'm pro-closed borders. I am pro-guns for law-abiding citizens. And I'm pro-life. Now, we have a new law in effect that prosecutes those who perform illegal abortions. You don't have to wonder, is there a moral conflict in my heart as to whether or not I'm going to do that or not? As a prosecutor, I will enforce the law. That's what we're all supposed to do, unlike Mark Gonzalez, who picked and chose what law he was going to enforce. I'm going to enforce the law because that's what we're going to do. I'm going to enforce our belief system because I know it's the right thing to do. And when you believe in it, you do it with passion. You don't do it just because it's a job, just collect your paycheck. You do it because it's the right thing to do and because you believe it's the right thing to do. And that's what I will do. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, thank you. We're going to shuffle the questions. We're going to go around, pick a random person to pull one out, and then we'll move forward with that. Just a reminder, these questions are 3 minutes to answer, 2-minute rebuttal. You have to request a rebuttal or we're going to keep going. The longer we take on there's plenty of questions to go through. We're expecting to wrap up this segment before closing remarks at 8:40. So we have about 40 minutes worth of questions and responses. All right, this one is for both candidates. If a boy who identifies as a girl assaults a girl in a locker room, will you prosecute? We'll go with Mr. Sales to answer first. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I mean, I'm not confused about what's a boy and what a girl is. and it doesn't matter what the gender of the person is doing the assault. It comes down to, was there a bodily injury caused to the person and who was the aggressor? So from ideologically speaking, no, I get the base and where we are, but the gender or the belief system of that particular person doesn't matter. You evaluate the case from the evidence, and was that person the aggressor? Did they start it? Can you prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt? Then you prosecute them not because of whether they're a boy or a girl, you prosecute them because they're a criminal. That's how you treat people with respect. You don't prosecute on ideology, you prosecute on what the law is, you prosecute on doing what is right.
Mr. Granberry, you have 3 minutes.
Believe it or not, I actually agree with Mr. Sales in large part. Being the district attorney is not a political job. All right, we have to run this way. Texas says that you've got to pick one or the other. But what we do day in, day out doesn't make a damn whether you got an R or a D by your name. We don't have a check box at the jail that they have to check when they come in and get arrested. We don't have, people asking that. The question is, did they violate a law of the state of Texas? Did they violate a law of the United States? And what are we going to do about it? So if there's a crime committed, it is the duty of the district attorney's office to do that. My office, since I've gotten in since October, we convicted a couple murderers today. We got a child molester who got a continuous child sexual assault case that got convicted and got 50 years today. We're doing the job in and out every day. We don't care whether you're a D or an R or a declares this way or declares that way. We take the statutes, we interpret them, and we go forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you like to just draw the next few, put them in an order, and we can get that over with?
I would.
The light bulb goes on at some point here. Okay, this is for both candidates as well. What do you plan to accomplish in your first 3 months? We'll go with Mr. Granberry.
Well, that's not fair. I've already been there 3 months. So let me tell you some of the things that we've done. When I got there, well, it was a disaster. Okay, we walked in, we had time bombs in every desk drawer. It was like a war zone. So we started, first place we could, put our spade in, start digging up. And I found time bombs. I got rid of the interdiction unit. And I got rid of it because you can't have people that work for you that are possible witnesses in your case, so you don't have to recuse your office from prosecuting those cases. It's a conflict of rules. Cops can do all kinds of things. They've got different rules for interviewing people and trying to get them tricked into telling the truth, and it's legal. It's been approved by the Supreme Court of the United States, but lawyers can't do that. So we have to separate out from that. So that's one of the things we do. I got the lights back on. I've had lawyers come back. I've had older lawyers who had retired come back and say, I want to work for you, Jimmy. Is there a spot you can put me in? Oh, yeah, come on. I have brought back multiple lawyers. I got a new young man going to come back from up the country. They've been leaving like droves to go to other places. We have been a farm team for San Antonio, Houston, other places in Texas far too long. I told them on the first day, I've never bullied anybody into doing what I wanted them to do. I've never been bullied into doing what somebody else wanted me to do. I don't play that way. If somebody tries to do it to you, you tell me, and I will take care of it. Okay? So I got their backs. They know that. The smiles are back. The work ethic is back. My first pair of young lawyers trying their first murder case hit it for 50. The next pair hit it for 40. We got 50 again yesterday. We pled another one to 50 where the eyewitness had died, or 15 where the eyewitness had died. We are rolling them up, and we've got the lights back on, and we're doing the work. We've also saved the county over $500,000 by making a slight change in how we ran the auxiliary court. And I hope I get a chance to talk about that later, but that's $500 grand in getting prisoners out of our jail. Thank you.
Mr. Sales, you have 3 minutes.
It is a democratic philosophy to defund the police. So look at Seattle, look at San Francisco. I believe that terminating law enforcement by taking law enforcement off the street did not make Nueces County a safer place. What does law enforcement do? If they pull someone over for a traffic stop, they're not just giving them a ticket. Are there drugs in the car? Is there a child being trafficked in the car? Are there illegals in the car? We now have less resources to assess those agencies in getting criminals off the street. Now, the head of that particular group happened to be a political opponent of our own Sheriff Hooper. If you don't like the job he was doing, then you can him and you bring in other people to do it. You keep the people in place. You can do it. You don't have your whole office staff the unit. You have maybe a person there, and by doing that, now you get a cut of the forfeiture. If you find $300,000 worth of drugs, you're able to get a cut of that, and rather than taxpayers paying for the criminals, you make the criminals pay for the criminals. You make them pay for probation officers. Make the criminals pay their share of the deficit, so that we don't have to. I've been walking in HEB, and I had these complete strangers come up to me and say, my son was murdered 6 or 7 months ago, and nobody from the district attorney's office has come and talked to me. Now, I want to be 100% clear. That was under the Mark Gonzalez administration. Under there was no communication with the victims. So one of the things that I would do is I would completely revamp our victim coordination site. I'd have a website where the victims could, and just take advantage of our technology, guys. We're not in 1940 anymore. Let's have a place where the victims can come in or get online and check the status of the case, see where they are. We can have safe words or safe codes built into place so we don't get just random people coming in. We just have the victims have access to the case. Let's have a supervisor, have a tracking system so they can see if their prosecutors are getting back to the victims. It's time for the victims to actually be involved in their case, to know what's going on, because everybody acts from the feet to the fire. And when the victim knows what's going on, they can address the prosecutor. When that happens, then we can press the judge and things get to trial and they get handled faster. So let's get law enforcement back in law enforcement, and let's get victims back into the district attorney's office. They're part of our family. Thank you.
Mr. Granberry, you requested a 2-minute rebuttal.
I was sitting in the sheriff's office the other day. One of the first things I did was rebuild the bridge to the police department. Then I went to the sheriff's department. Then I went to other law enforcement. I went to the medical examiner. But I was talking to the sheriff the other day, James, and he told me that you sat in his office one day and he asked you about the interdiction unit, and you told him that you would terminate that interdiction unit. Is that not true?
That is, well, your recitation may not be true because that's not my belief system.
Did you tell the sheriff that you were going to terminate the street interdiction unit of, say that again? No?
I said no. I'm not going to terminate it because we need to protect our citizens.
Okay. Well, the problem is that interdiction unit could have gone to anybody else that wasn't a prosecutor's office, that doesn't have the conflicts of interest that we have. They could have gone to Robstown PD. They could have gone to Bishop PD. They could have gone to any of those people and they wouldn't have had the conflicts that we had. That was why we had to move it out of the district attorney's office. We're not going to defund the police. Hell, we need to hire more of them.
All right, we are moving on. The next question. For both candidates, do you know the difference between equality and equity? Which will you implement? We will go with Mr. Sales first, 3 minutes.
The difference between quality and equity?
Equity and equality.
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 Well, equity is just doing the right thing, and equality is doing treating people the same way. I mean, obviously, when you have someone that is a defendant, you don't look at race, you don't look at socioeconomic status, you don't look at political party, you don't look at gender. You look at the facts of the case. Can you prove the case? First, can you prove it beyond a reasonable doubt? And then you go forward. You look at a person's criminal history. Can you go forward? Now, the previous administration just wouldn't prosecute possession of marijuana cases. I think at one point in time they had to dismiss 17,000 cases because that particular person did not believe in certain laws, so he just didn't enforce them. So, and that is not equality, that is not equity for the citizens, it's not equity for those out there accused of crime, because you don't know which is going to be prosecuted and what is not. The legislature makes the laws. They're the ones that make the laws. The job of the district attorney's office is to enforce the laws that are on the books, and that is what you do. Whether you go forward or not is based on the evidence of the case. We don't decide what the punishments are. The judges do and the juries do. Now, we certainly make our recommendations, and you should, one of the things to watch, and I suggest that people watch this is, who's contributing to whose campaign, whether it's judiciary or whether it's the district attorney's office, whether it's any race, and see if there's disparate treatment for those people, for those particular attorneys. You have to be careful about that, because I know it's happened in the past. But the job of the district attorney's office is to be fair to everybody and make the decisions based on what the case is and not on certain characteristics of people.
I agree with James Sales again. It's a record. Look, he's right. Equity and equality, different tenses of the same word. It's not a political office. It is a justice office. We take an oath in the DA's office, and I've worked with James. He took my spot in the DA's office when I left in 1994 from the county attorney's office, and I've worked with him across the board. And James is a good man. I'm not going to attack him personally. He's a good man. But when you start looking at what the previous administration did, and the only one who wants to take us back to that is Christy Brett. She's never showed up to one of these functions to take questions. She sends her videos and her sponsors, and that's fine. But James and I are here to take your questions and talk to you and visit with you a little bit. But we do this because we think it's the right thing to do. It's not a political job, and God knows it doesn't pay a lot. But we're dedicated to it. And I love this job. I love these kids I'm training. I love training these kids. I love working with them. I love giving them notes and saying, try this in your closing argument. Walking in, watching them do it, and do it just the way you suggested, and the glow on their face when they walk out and they hit a big lick. It's wonderful, and it's satisfying, and that's what I want to do in the DA's office, continue that pattern and keep the lights on, keep bringing good people in, and keep getting justice to the victims in Nueces County, Texas.
Next question is for both candidates. Should voter fraud be a crime? If so, misdemeanor or felony? Mr. Granberry, 3 minutes to respond.
It's not up to me, it's up to the legislature, but it is a crime. And I haven't looked the statute up, but whatever level crime it is, according to the statute, is the level of crime that'll be prosecuted under my administration.
Mr. Sales, 3 minutes.
You have misdemeanors, and you have felonies. Misdemeanors, you can be in jail from 0 days, with just a little fine, or up to a year in jail. Class B is 0 to 180. Class A is anywhere from 0 to a year. Felony, you stay jails 180 days to 2 years. A third degree, 2 to 10 years in prison. Second degree, 2 to 20, and first degree, 5 to 99. So, how valuable to you is the integrity of your election system? Is it a small thing, like a misdemeanor that you just kind of pat someone? No. Or is it a serious thing, like a felony? Do you treat it seriously? Now, the legislature decides it, and as a district attorney, we are bound by what the legislature says. But I believe the question was, what do we believe it should be? Well, I saw James Gardner the Republican, lose a race to Mark Gonzalez when he was ahead at 1:30 in the morning. All of a sudden, some ballots came in out of nowhere. At 4 o'clock in the morning, he lost the race. That changed the direction, that changed the entire shape of the office. Victims of crime got ignored for 6 years. Police enforcement lost their trust. Is that important? Is that a misdemeanor? No, that's a felony. It should be a felony.
Next question is for both candidates. Do you support Trump? We will go with Mr. Sales first.
I was in B County for 13 years, and I was the border prosecutor carrying out Governor Abbott's policies on illegal smuggling. Now, the office is next to the elections office in B County, Texas, right across the street from the courthouse, and I would park my car with the rear bumper facing the voters' elections office. And I got in trouble. Why, Mr. Sells, did you get in trouble? Just because you were parking your car that way. Well, I had a Donald Trump sticker on the back of my car, and the election precincts came over and said, Mr. Sells, we know you're Republican. We know you like Donald Trump, but you're within the 100 feet. If you just go on the other side into the parking lot, you'll be okay. Okay, so I went, parked on the other side, still pointing my Donald Trump sticker, but I was past 100 feet. I was for Donald Trump, I am for Donald Trump, and I will be for Donald Trump when he's the next president of the United States.
Mr. Granberry, 3 minutes.
Well, I don't need that. I haven't made up my mind yet. We'll see how he does. He's under a lot of accusations. I am a prosecutor. I am a prosecutor. I follow the rule of law. It is my duty. It is my sworn oath. And I have a duty to do that. So I will examine the cases as they come in. If he's convicted, I will take that into consideration. But we will see what happens. I believe in the justice system. Yeah, I have to believe in this justice system. I believed in it for 35 years, both as a criminal defense prosecutor, as a criminal defense lawyer, and as a prosecutor again. I believe in cases that can, projects like the Innocence Project, if they can come up with evidence that shows that somebody was wrongfully incarcerated, they bring it to me as the prosecutor, I'm gonna say, sure, I'll help you. Let's look and see if there is something there, because I, as a prosecutor, don't want an innocent man in jail. That's our role, is to seek justice. That's a political question, and it's not a political office. So I'm there to do the job prosecute crime, and do the thing that I took an oath to do, and that is support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Texas. And that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to continue to do for the next 4 years.
Next question. Really small print. Here we go. As we read the news every day, we have lost trust in a justice system that is clearly more often in pursuit of a political agenda than a rendering of justice. We have again a radical Democrat running on the Democrat ticket. How will you in November convince Nueces County voters that you are the district attorney we need? And we will go with Mr. Granberry first. 3 minutes, please.
I'm trying to take all that question in. Can you read it again?
Absolutely, no worries. As we read the news every day, we have lost trust in a justice system that is clearly more often in pursuit of a political agenda than of rendering justice. We have again a radical Democrat running on the Democrat ticket. How will you in November convince Nueces County voters that you are the district attorney they need?
By doing the job that I'm doing, by training the kids to do the job that they are doing. We're going to leave a record behind by the time we get there of young, vigorous prosecutors who are well-trained and well-supported. You know, people talk about support the police. I'm supporting the prosecutors, and they're doing a damn good job. You know, my friend Doug Tinker, who was a mentor of mine and a hell of a defense lawyer here in Corpus Christi forever, and a hell of a prosecutor before that, said, Jimmy, when you see a skinny hog, help him under the fence. When you see a fat one, render him. The job of the prosecutor and the discretion that we have is to decide which are the fat hogs and which are the ones you render. You see a kid that got in trouble with a little marijuana or a DWI, slap him a little bit, but help him up. Don't ruin his life. Okay? When you see the big ones, you take them out. Put them somewhere where they won't hurt anybody ever again. And I have a group of young, enthusiastic lawyers, and all they need is a lot of attaboys and attagirls, and a few notes here and there, but they've been well trained. They've gone to law school. They are receptacles. They're learning it. And me and my senior staff, who are some heavy hitters and who are doing the heavy hitting in this case, in these big cases, are training them up to do the heavy work that we're doing. And it's my hope to get back into the courtroom as soon as I get the rest of the mess straightened out and get my office staffed up to where we need to be to do that. But we got a ways to go. And I got to do all this stuff. So that's the answer, folks. I'm going to do what I'm doing, and we're going to keep building bridges, keep building relationships, and cementing those relationships so that the sheriff will pick up my call, and the county judge will pick up my call, and probation will pick up my call the first time it rings.
Mr. Salles, 3 minutes.
Well, we have to do things a lot differently at the local level than they are at the national level. Because what we see is President Trump being persecuted and targeted while Hunter Biden is out there walking free. We see Hillary Clinton out there walking scot-free. And it's almost like being a member of the Democratic Party's in affirmative defense and prosecution. And that's what's happening at the national level. And at the local level, that shouldn't be the place. I can tell you now that under the prior administration of Mark Gonzalez, there was the Calaveras Motorcycle Club. Get arrested, and then they would bond out before they even hit the jail because they knew somebody. Those cases need to be looked back into. Each one of those guys, you have to go back into the file, look at those cases, and say, is it a good case or not? If it's a bad case, you don't go forward on it. It's a bad case. But if it's a good case, you prosecute it. You shouldn't be able to get away with a crime just because of who you know. And that is what was happening under that former administration. That's what's happening now nationally. It's not something that we can afford to do now. There are younger people in the district attorney's office, but they're not kids. They're young men and they're young women. And the best way to teach somebody is not to tell them how to do it, it's to show them how to do it. And I understand and I appreciate there's a lot of administrative things going on in the district attorney's office because it was left in a big mess by Mark. But I think that by stepping in and showing them how things are done, this is how things are tried, this is how you do jury selection, this is how you do direct, this is how you do cross, this is how you do closing arguments. That is how you best get your bang for your buck from your district attorney, because you're actually in the courtroom teaching the young men and women who have chosen to take less money to represent the state of Texas. And that's one thing I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for both candidates. What are your goals for the office? We will go with Mr. Sales first.
And I keep mentioning that rascal Mark Gonzalez because one reason is Jenny Dorsey went after him and got him removed because of the things that he was doing in office. One of the first things he did there was he asked law enforcement for a list of all the informants, and they didn't want to give it to him. Law enforcement did not trust Mark Gonzalez. They had known me for 30 years. I never changed sides. I've been a prosecutor for 31 years. When you sneezed on a police officer, you got prosecuted for assault on a peace officer. One of our first cases in misdemeanor court was a jail riot where the guys had been there a year, but they would hold up mattresses and they would throw urine on the officers and all that. And I had their back. I didn't plead them out. I tried it because the public needed to see what happens. The judges needed to see it, and most important, the people need to see the conditions that law enforcement has to deal with. So I bring the trust with law enforcement there. I bring the desire not to attack police officers, not to find loopholes in their cases so that a client can walk free. I haven't done that. For 30 years, I've been trying to educate them, teach them, hey, this could be done a lot better way. So in addition to teaching the lawyers, it's an important part to be out there and work with law enforcement, say, hey, we can all do a better job. So you stand with them and not against them. You work with victims of crime, you make sure they're an active part in it. And that's all stuff that we can do to improve the system, and all the stuff I will do. Thank you.
Mr. Granberry, you have 3 minutes to answer the question. What are your goals for the office?
We're going to make it accountable again. We're rebuilding the bridges that were burned in the previous administration. Y'all heard about that case, the little girl that was tragically killed on New Year's Eve, right? Y'all heard about that one? People shooting up in the air, and the bullet fell and killed this child. It's horrible, and there is a crime that we can prosecute, but it's not a very satisfying crime for the loss of such a young life. I went in the process of trying to rebuild these relationships, I went to the federal courthouse and met with the lead attorney for the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he put together a list of the heads of ATF, FBI, the Border Patrol, all of the different agencies, and we all met in a huge conference room and sat down and had coffee and chatted. And I was sitting next to an ATF officer, and we all went around the table, introduced ourselves, talked, and we were visiting a little bit after that was done, and I was telling him about the heartache of that case, and he said, well, Jimmy, we've got some really amazing dogs that can go and find projectiles and things that are old, and they've been rained on, and they've been out in the weather. And he said, I don't know, I can't promise you anything, but we've got these dogs in San Antonio I can make a phone call and get it set up where they bring the dog down. And I said, dude, would you do it? You know, because this family deserves that chance of knowing which gun fired that projectile. So if we could find a projectile that had DNA of her on that, we could then take the projectile and match it to the weapons because we had both the weapons. And then I could tell who fired the fatal shot. And so it took about 2 weeks. They came down, they brought the dog, we met out at the apartment, and we stood around in the mist and let the dog work. Unfortunately, she found a few places where she looked interested. They got a metal detector and brought it out and looked for a projectile and found a few beer bottle caps and nothing of interest. But we tried. We went that extra mile and tried because we have that relationship that we've rebuilt with ATF. And all I could do was say, thank you, I got your back. Y'all need anything in Nueces County, Texas, this DA is gonna help you out in any way we can. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Thank you. Next question for both candidates. What are the most pressing issues in the DA's office? Mr. Granberry will be first.
We were talking to each other. Could you state that?
Absolutely, no
question
worries.
again for us?
Yep. What are the most pressing issues in the DA's office? And Mr. Granberry will have 3 minutes first. And just to update, we have about 10 minutes more of the forum.
Well, this is kind of not fair because I'm there and James didn't. So I'm there and I've got a hands-on approach. So, but we still have to get some things simplified. We've still got a problem with intake. One of the things we did was we got rid of we reimposed the warrant requirement for us taking cases. And it's a technical deal, but there was an attorney Attorney General's opinion out of 2020 that the previous administration had sat on that said a certain kind of warrant couldn't be used for this. Well, they sat on it, didn't do anything about it. One of the judges was jumping up and down saying, we're all going to get in trouble. I found this opinion that had been hidden in a drawer, and we said, the judge is right, we got to change it, and we made the decision. I had cops in my door 3 times a day for about a week saying, we don't want to change, and I said, you don't got a choice, it's law, okay? That's made it more efficient. The intake has to be more efficient. And one of the things we're trying to do is take lawyer time and make it lawyer time, and take assistant time and make it assistant time, and let the typist and the staff do the keyboarding and inputting after the lawyer has made their notes and done the lawyer work and said, this should be indicted as this, or this should be prosecuted as this, and this is the form, I've handwritten it in. If you can't read my writing, come talk to me, but you input it. So I'm paying staff wages to do it faster. I'm paying lawyers lawyer wages to use that education, and that needs to be done, and we're making that change. So another thing that we're trying to do is change the system back, and James, you may appreciate this, back from the old AR system back to the constitutional statutory way that it was done, where indictment makes it a felony and we don't have this need for double magistration at the CDC and also at the jail. Because the law requires you get magistrated at the jail, it doesn't need to happen twice. And so we can cut out a whole sector there and save money. We need to move people out of the jail faster. One of the ways we can do that is get the equipment over to Port Aransas, where they make a lot of spring break arrests, and let them bond people out of Port Aransas and get them out of jail and save us a ton of money. It's about $80 a day for every day that a person spends in jail. Thank you.
Mr. Sales, 3 minutes.
Since Jimmy and I are going to have a little hug fest before our closing arguments. Closing arguments might be a little different, but while we're having a hug fest right now, I've got to say one of the things that he did when he took office was something exactly what I would have done. I mean, Ms. Britt's trying to run for district attorney. She's been a prosecutor for 4 years. I didn't think she had enough experience to be a felony chief, much less run for district attorney. And so Jimmy made the exact same decision that I would have, which would be to move her to the juvenile position so she could get some trial experience, so she could learn to articulate, and before she could become someone to teach somebody else. And for him to get sued for that, I think is just flat out wrong. And I told Jimmy in private, and what I told him in private, I'm going to say in public. I think it was the right thing to do, Jimmy, because I don't think she's qualified for the job. Now, for the rest of the district attorney, the changes office, I've already talked about the victim impact. I would make changes in that particular system so that the victims would have notice that they would be more involved in the system. Now, the intake system is backed up. If you've ever been inside our office, you know, so many lawyers, secretaries, you have lawyers walking in and out of the office all the time, phones ringing all the time. It's kind of hard to get things done. So one of the things I'd like to see is to have some prosecutors and support staff maybe work on the weekend. Not a 7-day week, but to have part of their workday be on the weekend so they have the quiet and solicitude to work more efficiently, get more intake done. Because when people are calling on you, and coming into your office and BSing with you and blah, 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 it's hard to get it done. So what happens if a crime is committed on Saturday? Let's have a prosecutor in the office that's available to law enforcement so we don't have to take that time and wait. Let's make the district attorney's office more accessible. Back in the day, we had a prosecutor actually embedded in the police department so that they could just go straight to that person and get his or her legal opinion. And that's a good thing. We haven't had a gang prosecution unit in forever, and I think we all know why, because of Mark Gonzalez. And James Gardner and I, for years, cleaned that unit up. We've got a lot of intel. I've got a lot of life sentences, 50-year sentences, and death penalties from prosecuting gang members. Right now, they have been let loose. Nobody's looking at them. We need to put our eyes back on them, and that's one of the things I would implement. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our final question of the forum. Can you imagine a case in which you believe beyond a reasonable doubt that a crime was committed, but you chose not to file? And we'll go with Mr. Sales first for 3 minutes.
It is the job of the prosecutor to evaluate a case. The police department brings the case to you. The prosecutor is never the final judge or jury. You may have heard that expression. Do you know why? Because we have judges and juries to do that. That is their role, is to make the final call on that nature. Now, there is a group of citizens involved after police involvement, after the prosecutor's involvement, and before it gets to a judge or jury. That is a grand jury. They can hear the facts and hear the evidence in the case and decide whether, there's that word equity that was brought up earlier, whether equity calls for the case to be prosecuted. So it is the job of the prosecutor, if a case meets the elements, that yes, you do file the case. Now, an interesting scenario is, what do you do when there is an affirmative defense? Let's say that you are a homeowner and someone has come into your home. The evidence and the facts all are that someone has broken into your home and tried to assault you or assault one of the members of your family. And as a homeowner and as a person who believes in their Second Amendment rights, you shoot the criminal dead and shoot him down right then and there. Now, beyond a reasonable doubt, yeah, I shot him, I did this, I did that, but if all the evidence is up front that this person was clearly acting in self-defense, I don't think you need to throw a person in front of the grand jury if they're, and subject them to all that torment if that's what the facts and what the evidence are. Because it's easy just to throw it all in the grand jury and just take your hands off. So that is the case where you might decide not to file, but it's only because there's additional evidence of the affirmative defense. However, if there is beyond a reasonable doubt that the person is guilty of an offense and it's against the penal code and it's not a legal defense, that needs to go forward for a judge or jury to decide.
Thank you. Mr. Granberry, 3 minutes.
And I'm sorry, read that question again, just one more time.
Can you imagine a case in which you believed beyond a reasonable doubt that a crime was committed, but you chose not to file?
No.
All right. We are going to go into our closing remarks. Each candidate's going to get 5 minutes to do their closing remark. If the other opponent chooses to do a rebuttal, it'll be 2 minutes, and they get 1 rebuttal either way. Since Mr. Granberry went first, Mr. Sales will close first. You have 5 minutes.
If anybody walks out of here and says I said something negative about Jimmy Granberry, the man, they're going to have a fight on their hands. Attorneys, and this has happened with Jimmy and I over the years, you battle like heck in the courtroom. At the end of the day, you shake hands and you go forward with it. But this is more about just whether or not you have experience. It's more about whether or not you're qualified. We both practice criminal law.
Hold the mic up. Hold the mic up.
We both practiced criminal law a long time. The ideology is I've been a prosecutor for 30 years, and he's been a defense attorney for 30 years. But the other factor in a primary is whether or not you are a Republican or if you are a Democrat. So, if you have supported Biden, then you are a Democrat.
Yes, sir.
If you have given money to Jamie Harrison, who is the Democratic Party National Chair, then you are a Democrat.
Yes, sir.
If you gave money to Jose Longoria over Enoch Klein, then you are a Democrat. If you gave money to something called Act Blue on 3 separate occasions, a George Soros-sponsored organization whose entire goal is to turn Texas from red to blue, then you are, in fact, a Democrat. What does Act Blue want to do? They are abortion on demand. They are open borders. They are, you can choose what gender you are. It doesn't matter to us whether it's a boy. Boys shouldn't be going to school and playing volleyball or baseball or football against girls. It's just wrong. It is not a Republican principle. If I were to go, hey Jeff, if I were to go to a baseball game between the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees, and I'm an Astros fan, I would go in wearing a Houston Astros hat because that's who I support. That is who I believe in. When you ask, who does Mr. Granberry believe in? Who does Mr. Granberry support? Where's his money going? It's gone to Joe Biden. So there's a sign on his fence for Joe Biden. Now, that doesn't mean that Jimmy's a bad person. It just means he's a Democrat. And this is not a meeting of the Democratic Party. This is a meeting of the Republican Party. Our coalition should not be handing out flyers for a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. They should be handing out flyers for Republicans. And if you think it's wrong, if you think that's crazy, go talk to Suzanne after the meeting and say, we really don't want a Joe Biden supporting, George Soros supporting, yellow dog Democrat carrying the Republican flag. One of the things that the Democrats believe in is that if a man, puts on a dress and puts lipstick on, then all of a sudden he's a woman. Well, if you've been a man all your life, you can't just make a sudden change and call yourself a woman. If you've been a Democrat all your life, you can't call yourself a Republican and become a Republican. I like Jimmy as a man. I like him as a person. He's a Democrat. This is a Republican primary. For the love of God, put a Republican in the Republican primary on the ballot. Thank you.
All right, excuse me, sir. Mr. Sales, if you're agreeable, this is... Slow down, please. Mr. Sales, if you're agreeable, this is your personal property, but since you use it as a prop, are you agreeable that Mr. Granberry can use it?
Defense attorneys and prosecutors do it all the time.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Granberry, you got 5 minutes.
Now, that's an ugly hat, but he's a damn good-looking man. And see, the fun thing about this is he's got no proof of where I got that hat. He doesn't know the story behind that hat. He doesn't know why I'm wearing that hat. He doesn't know why I got that coon grizzly grin on my face. But he gets up there and he says, oh, if you did this and you did that, then it's obviously, well, that's not so. If you're a good lawyer, you look for the links. You look for the evidence in between that conclusion and the proof that you have. So somebody found something that connected a credit card of mine. I have credit cards that my daughter has, that my wife has. Yes, I do. You can shake your head all you want. I have credit cards that I have, and I got one for my business. Now, like I said, I wasn't political. This wasn't anything that was important to me. And that picture, I believe, is 5 years old. From 2000, I don't know, 5 years, 4 years ago. And I wasn't in this world. I didn't get into this world until right before the governor called. Or the people solicited me to go do this. So, am I embarrassed about that? No. And I would put my reputation and my representation up against anybody's. And if all you want is the best Republican, then maybe I'm not your cup of tea, and that's okay. I'm good with that. Because I know what I've done, and I know who I am, and I know who raised me, and I know who my father is, and I know my daughter just got her PhD in Scotland, and I know my son is a 27-year-old autistic boy, and I stopped my day job to go take care of him at night, and then got up again and went and did my day job, and started the cycle all over again. I didn't have time for this, but I made time because I felt like I owed it back to my country and my state, and I wanted to come and do this. So I chose when I was called to be a Republican. So now I am a Republican because there isn't a test, there's not a blood test, there's not a written test. I decided to be a Republican for my community. And I don't care whether people mumble in the background trying to talk over me. I did this for the right reasons and because I want to make my community better. You want to send me back to my criminal defense lawyer? I love it. That's fine. But I want to train these kids. I want to make my city safer. And I want to retire handing that office to somebody that will continue that tradition.
Thank you. All right. All right, I just want to thank the audience for coming out this evening. Some of you, it was a trek over the bridge, but I just want to thank you for being courteous to the candidates and myself during this part. So a big round of applause for the audience tonight. Just a reminder, if you have an open tab, make sure you close it out. And let's do it, we're not departing yet, but big round of applause for the two candidates on stage. Now Miss Suzanne's going to close us out.
Thank you, Ed, and great moderation. Thank you. So I would like for sure to thank all of you again for being here. And now it's your turn. You choose the best candidate, and you go and exercise your sacred right to vote. I still want to remind you, though, that we have still 2 more candidates forum. One on February 15th for the candidates running for Congress, and one on February 22nd with the candidates for the Texas Higher Courts. So if you like what you do, please fill up one of our volunteer forms on your table and come and help us at our headquarters inside the American Bank. We need help every single day. Also, as always, donations are always needed and welcome. We have a donation box by the table on the exit, so don't forget it. We have this room for a little while longer, so please go visit with our candidates and get to know them personally. Ensure you close your tabs, as he said, and we wish you all a good night. Thank you.